right? So I was, myself included, but everybody was really enjoying their time at Taleo. When we got acquired by Oracle, we had to go through a culture shift, and it wasn't at all fun. Just to give an example, and I am not kidding. We were used to buying Macs, and Mac was not considered a non-standard hardware. At Oracle, Mac is a non-standard hardware, okay? So what does it mean? So one day I needed to buy an extra power cord for Mac. So I submitted an I submitted a request. I am not kidding. I know you're going to think that this is unbelievable. It went all the way to Larry Ellison for approval, okay? And this is just an example of a bureaucracy that you're not used to in a smaller company, even at a mid-sized company, that you need to get used to. Now, I myself complained about it till the cows came home, but then one day it dawned on me that I was taking advantage of the system also, and let me explain to you why. At Taleo, I needed to hire a very high-end UI contractor. I was paying him $250 an hour. But because I was paying him $250 an hour and I did not have the budget, it was a short engagement, and it had to come to an end. But before it came to an end, we got bought by Oracle, and at Oracle, one of the complaints I had was I had no budget. As a director of engineering at Taleo, I had my own budget. Whereas even as VP of engineering at Oracle, you don't have your own budget. But the reverse side of that is, I want a contractor with $250 an hour. Fine, you get it. For a year, yeah, you get it. So even though I don't control my budget, I have almost infinite ask that I can do. Now I can be the child. Just give me, as opposed to I have this much money, I have to manage within that. So my point is that every situation has a positive element to it and a negative element to it. I want to give one more example. And I'm not trying to put my brother and Rally under the bus, but I'll just give an example of how it came across to me as an outsider when they complained about something. So we bought Rally, Atlassian's competitor, in the last 2 years, in 2 years back, I think. One of the things that they were hung upon was that they were using the Google ecosystem for managing documents, sending emails, so Gmail and docs.google.com and those kind of things, right? And they were very comfortable with that. When they came over to CA Technologies, they needed to be standardized on Outlook and SharePoint and those kind of things. They just couldn't get over it. We would have leadership meetings where we would talk about how painful this is and what can we do about it and stuff like that. But this became like boiling the ocean, because CA Technologies is a big company. They're not going to change your policy because one acquisition came in and said, I don't want to do this, right? It was a futile thing. And just think about it. I don't know how many of you have used Outlook, right? Outlook is a pretty good tool. I mean, you can complain all about, SharePoint sucks, fair enough. But my point is that Gmail is simple, yes, but it also doesn't do a whole lot of shit, right? But Outlook does. And I'm not saying you have to use Outlook and this is the best tool in the world, but there could be worse things that you are exposed to, right? This is not it. But that's what I meant by, at a certain point, you need to cut this off, saying, this is happening and it's not going to change, let's accept it and move on. This is my favorite expression. But so when I joined CA Technologies, it was 2.5 years back, one of the challenges that I faced was any idea that I would have, and these are good people I'm talking about, any idea I would have, like, yeah, we tried that, it didn't work. Okay? And then it's like, okay, then the next idea, oh, we tried that too, and that didn't work. So it's like there's nothing. It's like there's a quote that I really like, and I'm not good at memory, but this one I remember very clearly. Einstein said this: between the things that you cannot do and you will not do, there's a risk of doing nothing, right? And that's exactly what was happening. It's like, this we cannot do, this here would not allow, and like, I'm here to make a change. I'm here to make the needle move. So what do I do, right? So the thing that I came back with is, if it is a good idea and it was poorly executed before, let's try again. If we agree that was a good idea, then let's not hold on to the past failures. Let's try it again. Let's learn from that failure, and hopefully we'll make it better this time around. But if it is a bad idea, that's a different story altogether. We can discuss, we can disagree, and then we can throw that idea out. But it's very important that you don't give in to that skeptic. Okay. I think this goes probably in one of those common sense categories. I'm going to look at my cheat sheet again. So, you know very well that anything worth doing, you cannot do it alone. You need partners. And what better way to do that than to build relationship before you need them? It's extremely important that the first call you make to a new person is not about, hey, hello, XYZ, and I need something. You get into an organization or you get into a new role, you figure out your stakeholders, reach out to them ahead of time before you need something from them, and ideally do something for them. Human beings are almost irrational in terms of reciprocity. Do you know that, I'm going to sound like a know-it-all, but I'm going to try again still. When you go to restaurants, they give you this little toffee or a little chocolate pieces when they pull you the bill. They have found that in general, they get 29% more tip if they do that, as opposed to not doing it. Because the human psychology is about reciprocation. Even if you give something, like if you walk in today and the admin that you work with or admin that you don't even work with, you give her a piece of chocolate, she will remember that for the rest of her life, and you own her. Okay? People have a disproportionate idea about reciprocation, but that only happens when you are the first mover, right? So when you are taking on a new role or you are a leader in an organization, you need to make sure that, almost like Godfather, you do the favor first, and then see what happens when you need the favor. Okay, I will give some concrete examples also of mutual motivation. Again, when we got acquired by Oracle from Taleo, I was running this SMB product on SQL Server because of cost reasons. We really wanted to run on Oracle. It's more performant, it has more features and whatnot. We couldn't because it was not something that we could afford. But when you when you got acquired by Oracle, this is free technology for us. And it's, again, the things that are better, you can look at it that way as well. But so we wanted to go and uptake Oracle technology, Oracle database technology, but we realized that we have 5,000 customers, and we have, each one database per customer was a kind of our design for good reasons. Some of you are cringing, I can see, but if you want to do any tenant level isolation, if you want to do backup and recovery, it's impossible to do if you share the database, right? So anyway, it's not one of those things, it's black and white, that one is good or one is bad. But the point being that we wanted something better than just an Oracle database to replace SQL Server. At the very same time, Oracle came up with their Oracle 12c cloud, 12c database, where they had multi-tenancy built in. They were looking for somebody who could be the champion and who could be the pilot for that technology. They didn't have one. So you can see the marriage there, right? I needed to run on Oracle, but I had to solve that multi-tenancy problem. They were trying to look for a multi-tenant customer, and we got to talking. We said, you know what, this makes sense for us to do together. But I don't have the resources. Can you give us some resources from your side? And that guy right away agreed, because they needed a certified customer or a certified vendor that is going to do this. So you can look for this kind of mutual benefit everywhere that you work, because there's always some mutual benefit that you can count on. One thing that I wanted to also talk about under this umbrella is you need to be, when you're talking about relationships and you are counting on others, like I said, call them first and all that, you need to be sensitive about group dynamics. It's very interesting sometimes when you expect somebody to behave in a certain way, But as soon as they're in a group setting, they don't behave exactly how you'd expect them to behave. Because there's a lot of posturing that goes on. Maybe his boss is on that same call, so now he needs to show a different side of him. Maybe there is an enemy of him that is on the same call, so he's being unreasonable. So you need to be aware that if you really want to get something and eliminate some variables there, you and I should talk individually to make sure that it's like husband and wife sorting their issues out without the in-laws, right? Because that just creates more variables to work with. But if I can work with you directly saying, what is your motivation? This is my motivation. We can agree and then walk into a group setting. Hopefully he will not surprise me there. But if that's the first time I'm talking to him on the group setting and I expect, I had a casual conversation with him before, I think he will agree to this, but don't take a chance on a group setting. That same relationship may not actually yield the results in a group setting because of reasons that you don't control. So these are some of the books that is relevant for this topic. As a leader, I tell this to my management quite repeatedly, saying that if you think that whatever your team did, you're going to sit there and take the credit for it, and that's your value to the organization, that's really problematic. Because I don't know how much of what they achieved is because you are there versus you're not there. Meaning, what is the delta that you're adding because you are there? Is that making sense? Meaning, a team would have, especially an agile team, they are self-organizing, they would have achieved the goals with or without their manager's support. Now, yes, if you are the manager that can remove some of the obstacles and enable them in many different ways, they'll be able to achieve more. But the entire thing is not your credit. The team is moving the needle by themselves also, right? So your job is to make sure that you are looking for ways to make 2 + 2 = 5. Because if it was 2 + 2 = 4, I didn't need a manager for that, right? We would have got it anyway. So what are the ways you can get that? There are, no matter which company that I've worked with there are always hidden assets that you can tap into. Whenever you hear the terminology like common components, shared services, tools team, program management, these are your clues saying these are additional resources that I can tap into. That are there, their whole reason for existence is to help any team and every team. So don't do everything by yourself. Tap into those teams for additional resources to move the needle faster. Similarly, not everybody manages budget, so I get that. But a lot of the engineering leader kind of shies away from looking at budget as a tool. It's your money for your product. You can use it anyhow you want. Maybe you are not going to hire somebody or you're having a difficulty hiring. You want to talk to your controller and saying, I'm going to take that money and hire a contractor. Or your team comes and says, you know what, I need an IntelliJ license. I haven't hired for a while, maybe. So you need to look at your budget, understand it, and use it to your advantage. Don't let the money just be there. Let the money work for you. And build that relationship again with the controller so that he understands what you're trying to do. You can gain a lot by working with them. I'm going to skip this in the interest of time. Okay. This goes back to the point that I was making before, that it's not only about your function that you optimize, you have to look at the entire business. Okay. And I'll give an example for this one also. So I don't know how many of you are in software, but it's a software example, of course. When you are running a product in the cloud, you have an engineering team that develops the product, and then there is an operations team that runs the product. Now, in a company like CA Technologies or even Oracle for that matter, they are not under the same leadership often. In a smaller company, they will be under the same leadership and you can optimize across. But in a bigger company, they consolidate operations into their own hierarchy and engineering and product development in their own hierarchy. Now what happens is, if you stay in your engineering role, and you optimize for the product and not for the operational cost, nobody will blame you for it because you don't know any better, let's say, or you don't care. But on the other hand, these guys are held accountable for margins. So if I sell somebody a software for $100, how much does it cost for me to run that software? If it is $80, then you only get $20 of revenue, let's say. I'm making it simpler. So they are interested to cut cost. Now my interest as an engineering leader is I need to make it performant. So think about a conversation that I've had. I want to get partitioning going that requires me to have an Oracle license, a specific license that I need so that I can purge data or move data out so that the application is more performant. I will invariably get a pushback from the operation side because now you're asking for an additional license that's going to increase the margin. I mean, it will have a negative effect on margin. Similarly, I might actually go back and say, you know what, I want a CDN so that, again, everything is cached across locations so that everybody has a better response time. And this guy's going to look at it saying, oh, you're just adding cost to my operations, and they might push back. On the other hand, operations might say, you have delivered something that requires a lot of manual touches, let's say to reset password or whatnot, just to give an example. And I need you to kind of fix that because